Officially, good morning. Welcome to the Options Income Launchpad Wednesday Market Midpoint. I, of course, am Scott. I will be the host. As always, what we're doing is for education, illustrative purposes only. No recommendations to buy or sell. We're not brokers or advisors. Decisions made are at your own risk. Yada yada. Okay, you guys know. You guys know the drill. Let's talk about the opening analysis and where are the futures back up strongly. There's still a good amount of volatility going on in this market, and so it's going to have a big open. And same thing, we're going to see: does it hold? Does it last? Does it trigger? Aggressively. Couple of things gave signals yesterday. More conservatively, looking for confirmation. Our posture should be interesting. It's been a couple of big days this week already, and now we're thinking about what is our mindset for going forward. We'll look at the watch lists, talk about those that specifically looked reasonable, and there were some pretty good ones. Apple was one on my list. Screen's paused. Oh goodness. There's the agenda. You missed the disclaimers. I should probably go back so you could read through this. I'm just kidding. Let's talk about what the setups are, where we think they are, and then we'll move on and finish with where we are for our trading plan. Okay. Let's get going. Excuse me, I got something stuck in my throat. Okay. There we go. Let's talk about the futures. 0.71 for the S&P. 0.4 for the Dow, almost 1% for the NASDAQ, a little over 1% for the Russell. So the futures are showing good opening strength. Only a small pullback on the VIX, though. Right? Keep in mind. That's something that we're keeping an eye on. Is that, how's that correlation? Is that VIX releasing this building sense of fear, or is it holding on to it? And so despite the fact that the futures look like they're up, I think we're going to have to be patient, because what we see in the morning could be very different than what we see in the afternoon. I think the VIX is holding on to a level that there is institutional concern there and building, and when it builds, it can definitely domino quickly. So I'm going to say, it's an interesting time. So anyway, okay. What's in the news that's important? Wall Street. So at least the financials have been having some big profits. They really didn't have big. By the end of the day yesterday, they finished positive. In the morning, we were like, hey, what's going on? These things are, they're still kind of, we'll see, right? So certainly our analysis would love for the financial sector to move into a leading position, right? That would be fantastic. And so we're rooting for them. Good earnings is great. Economic growth is great. We're all like, yeah, let's go. And hoping that they also say that they think it's going to keep being good going forward. And then that's going to really help them. Because if they say, but we see some problems on the horizon, that's when we see negative reactions to the stock. And so we'll see. But so far, good start to the earnings season. That's what we're seeing this week, despite the fact that we're not, and looks like continue to not. Looks like oil stocks are surging due to trade tensions. Today is the 15th. The Empire State Manufacturing number did come back positive, but like I said, it's a big swinger. I would expect all of this data is postponed, except for Fed speak. So we're just going to get a lot of of what are increasingly divisive, I think, positions. Maybe not divisive, divided. Okay. And then here's the rest of it that's going to get delayed. So we're kind of flying blind. But I think that the speech that Powell gave, where he talked about increasing labor market issues, that I think is a good confirmation. I think, and this is kind of pushing me the other way, for 2 cuts. What he's basically saying is that the Feds, of their 2 mandates, they're looking at employment more than they're looking at inflation. So that's all they need to be saying, hey, we need to cut it. Not because inflation is under control, because it's not. It doesn't seem to be from the data, again. But because we need to curb this. So, yeah, I think that we are definitely likely, and if we just take a quick peek, 96.7 in October, 96% in December. So pretty stacked in that regard. Okay. Hey, Vladimir. So, knowing that, it's built in, it's baked in. We have the Fed. Don't fight the Fed. That's always a good reminder. So, right, we've maintained a bullish posture. Little bit of volatility happening right now. Let's go actually take a look at how yesterday finished. So, yeah, you can see we opened down, we ran lower, tested the low, had a big rally up, came back down, big volume, and we met last night, already assessed it as what? A tie. Right? With everything that we saw happen, it was a big, big tug of war, and then it moved down like 0.12%, 0.17. It was just very much the same place it was. So there's a whole lot of back and forth, and then nothing. That was having started down. Now, we're going to see it start up. 666, maybe even 667. Yesterday's high was 665. So we're actually going to start even a little higher than yesterday's high. Right about there. Yeah, I mean, look, if this thing turns, that may that may be exactly. I mean, we talked about this being a similar prospect, and then it kind of left. So I don't know. It's a lot more. It's a lot more volatile this time with the bigger day with the gap up like that. That's what we get today. That's only if we see like continuation. Of course, we all know that we could see it. I was a little high with my estimation. Boy, that makes it look really close, but I guess, yeah, okay. Now remember, this is important, but this right here, this is a representation of the stochastics right now based on this being right here. And what happens is people are like, oh, this is a go. And then the problem is that at the end of the day, if it finishes back down here, maybe even it tests up a little bit, but it finishes back down and it looks like that. That stochastic's not going to look like that anymore. That red line is going to drop and it's going to look like this. It's going to just be flat. Maybe actually it's probably going to even drop down into this more, like this. And at the end of the day, you'll look at it and be like, whoa, that's not a signal. Right? And this is the chart that is locked in so that a week from now, when you look back and you're like, this is the day you got in, you'll be like, why did I get in there? And it'll be very hard because you don't have the chart that you saw when you looked at the daily chart in the morning. Very different chart is the daily. This is why when we look at it, we wait for the opening range. We start to get a sense of that. We talk about morning session, lunch, afternoon session. Does it hold? What's the right things like that? Does that make sense? I mean, I just want to make sure that, like, yeah, look, this is looking interesting for sure. It's volatile, but it does look like it's trying to make a turn. And if that's what it looks like at the end of the day, or even a little bit better, ideally even something like that maybe, then I would say there's a good chance there's some confirmed trades out there where you're like, hey, this is it. If we're going to take the trade, this is what we're looking for. And there it is. So today should be interesting, I would say. Apple. All right, so there's Apple. We talk about Apple possibly looking for the turn. It's a red candle. I would like it to be a little bit stronger. Hi, Sandy. Good to see you. Stochastics, same thing. Seeing that turn. I mean, this looks pretty similar to this. Worked out great last time. Similar to this. Worked out pretty well. And we're seeing the momentum. Why not? Okay, so that was a weird one, right? It was like really down, and then all of a sudden by the end of the day it turns into this hammer looking pattern. And now today it looks like it's turning the other way. I don't know. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Does look like money's still trying to come in. Amazon's it's not that's some people are like, yeah, look, it's setting up. That's not for me at this point. For me, I'm seeing this. I'm waiting to see what break out of that, then go from there. I mean, maybe it's got some volatility to it. It's holding the 50. Maybe. I think APH looks. APH. Look at that, making that turn. You've got earnings here. So basically what you're thinking is there going to be a pre-earnings run? Volatility is high. This is I think indicative of the environment. We're at earnings season. We're already seeing financials go. So that means most things are going to be reporting in the next 2 weeks. You can see it right here. It's next week sometime. I think a week away from now. And so that doesn't mean, oh, that's it, we can't trade it. It means that unless you're willing to hold through earnings, then which, that can cut both ways. Sometimes it works great. Sometimes it completely decimates you. Sometimes not much happens. But what that means is it's kind of a crapshoot, right? And so, but what does tend to happen, you can see the implied volatility is already high. That would likely stay high, possibly even go higher. So stable. Does IB for the individual stock go in the same pattern as the VIX? Well, kind of. Like generically, yes, because the VIX is representative of the S&P. So the S&P is a 500 stock conglomerate of a index. So there's always going to be a good level of correlation, but the one thing that creates differentiation for individual stocks is exactly what we're talking about now, which is earnings. The earnings creates a different level of speculation on that stock, particularly, which directly influences implied volatility. This one you can actually see has been ramping up steady. It was pretty low. The last earnings it only spiked to here, and so this time it was like it really took a move. And you'll notice the stock hasn't done much. So it's really just been like in this period. And now we're right before earnings. And all this is built in. Let's see. Yeah, it is tough. It's like you're paying a lot for it, but it's just probably going to stay that or even possibly go higher still. Let's see if there's others, but that's just something to consider. This is the kind of thing we're going to see. AVGO, kind of choppy. So financials. They did turn. Got a little momentum. We're sitting around here now. Earnings are a couple days away. It's not much we can do with these at this point. However, for me, if this is the consolidation, let's see what happens. Does it go a little higher and then pull back and then great? There's nothing wrong with taking that trade right there. That's the equivalent. Even if you catch it late, you still get a nice one, and then you get another nice one. Catch a couple pieces. Bank of America had good earnings, I believe. Great. It broke out. Let's see. Next pullback. That's the tradable. Same thing here. Caterpillar just keeps on going. Very strong. Caterpillar is definitely trying to lead the way in the industrial sector. It's good to see. CCJ, same thing. Cameco, I believe, is also industrials. Am I right? I think I am. Strong push there. Capital One. I actually am a little bit leaning towards Visa, interestingly. When we get there, I'll show you why. Coinbase looks like a new setup is developing. You can see our stochastics down here is pinching, very similar to around this time frame. We're just kind of waiting for that same turn, because next time I think we're making a run back up to, I wouldn't be like, oh, let's get to 444. I'd be thinking like, what's the top of this here? 420? 420, got there 3 days. 420 seems like, oh, okay. Another one of these moves that, anyway, just thinking out loud. Cisco looks interesting for the, if it can hold on to this. Engulfing pattern yesterday, confirmation today, turning. I would actually think this would be enough to give you even a Heikin-Ashi perspective if you wanted it, where you might think, you know what, I don't need to have anything down here. I can go below maybe like these bodies, and that's below here. So a stop could be maybe in this range, a little tighter, and see what kind of reward or risk we get. If you get one of these derived from back here. Tell me if I hit one you're in or thinking about. Delta just kind of popped yesterday and then flat today, so I don't know if that's interesting. DoorDash is interesting though, right? Consumer discretionary one that still has a nice trend. Higher high. Pulling back. New support. Getting confirmation of the turn. Stochastics is turning. Implied volatility is high. Let's see exactly how long this trade has. I think we need more time. So I'm going to go into my time axis, take it out to 20 days. Let's get a month out there and see. I'm pretty sure, well, there it is. 11.5. So you got some time, right? Time to get a trade out of this, even if it takes a little while. Implied volatility is high, but I would expect it not to drop. Let me give you, this is what I'm saying is sometimes when we see high implied volatility, we stay away from it because we're like, oh, I don't want to buy it when it's high and have it drop out on me. You'll notice here it got high. Here are earnings. It stayed high all the way until earnings, and then it fell. So this is kind of like what you'd know is volatility is not likely to drop. So some people are like, oh, I'm going to trade and see volatility. No, the volatility is going to stay high. We can estimate with that. But I think this DoorDash is actually looking quite interesting. Give me your thoughts. Yes, no? You like it? Who's interested? It's up for it's an auction. No. DocuSign is a no. EA is just a waiting game. Sandy's like, get to the P's. Ford, maybe if it starts to move bigger. GE catching a late move. Still a little bit of time before earnings. It's before, so you have until the 20th, until Monday on this trade if you're in it still, to catch the last little bit. One day there, right after this. Yeah, looks all right today. Gold, woo, still going. Google, maybe, continuation trade possibility there. Depends on where my stop would be. What do we have left on this thing? If that's the move, Now, if we think that's the move, the problem is that's only happened. Well, that's really the same thing we're looking for. Never mind. Yeah, okay. So what do we have? We're at 247 to 263. It's only, what's that, 16 points? Well, if we come in with a hike and actually stop, let's put it maybe in this 241 range. That would be 6 to 16. Well, actually, that's maybe an interesting prospect here. As a continuation, where we're thinking, hey, if we caught these, we'll just ride the stop up at any time. It turns, we're out. So a little different than bounce trades where we give it some early room, some flexibility. This one is more of a, hey, we think that the momentum is on, so we're going to take this with a slightly different approach. I think there's something there, possibly. Goldman. They reported they exceeded expectations, and you can see there's still some lackluster responses. Some of the financials had breakouts, others are not so much. Robinhood, I think we have time and opportunity. It looks like it's starting to stabilize at this new level. Yeah, it's moving pretty fast. I think there's a good chance it could have one more pre-earnings run. Okay. Helmet is one I said yesterday looked very much tradable. Today is getting follow through and some confirmation. I mean, if it's going to make one of these moves, you're getting in with, I would say, plenty of opportunity. You've got time. Earnings not until the end of the month. You've got 2 weeks on this one. IBM. Not a lot of time on IBM. That definitely looks like it could make some kind of run. Volatility high again. But earnings are aftermarket on the 22nd. That is 1 week from today. So, can you catch some like, hey, let's see if we can catch 2, 3, 4 day moves. It's a different type of trade for sure. Intel, I would say, okay, so these lines are driving me insane. They're not actually useful. You might be like, ooh, what do those mean? I drew them for like an example one time, and then they ended up actually looking like pretty good for a while in the actual real time. Anyway, I hadn't watched it for a while, and then all of a sudden they moved right back into it. Obviously, they fell below it for a long, long time. But, we can at least see this. We have earnings here. Same thing. Do you think there's enough? And this one for me is, it's pinching, but it hasn't really turned. This is sitting in right? If this was a positive day, maybe we'd have a different perspective on Intel. But I would still say setting up. There are better things today if you're thinking about trades today, that's for sure. Small caps doing okay still. Levi's, yeah. Lumentum, same kind of a thing. I would really want to see it above this level. You can kind of see that day, the next day, even today. That's a good level to to be like, okay, if the buyers push it above that, that's where we're thinking yes. Price level confirmation, price level trigger. Meta hasn't done really much for me. Morgan Stanley. So you can see that was a big reaction. They smashed it. Overall, I think it's enough that the group is seeing enough that we're going to see. I would expect, give me your thoughts on this, but I'm thinking we're likely to see a bump in the financials in our sector rotation. Maybe not enough to score it, but enough that we're like, maybe that we're thinking to ourselves, okay, a couple more weeks of this and now we have something to score. I don't know. We'll see. Microsoft is definitely a maybe for me. Let's zoom in on this. We know there's earnings out there, but right now we're focused on this. The turn is there. Same kind of a thing. This is tough. I'm usually thinking I want to enter if it breaks this, but it's like, well, it's kind of at that. If it's here at the end of the day, that would be much stronger of a case to say yes. Now I have both price and indicator, not just like, yeah, it's done enough to turn, but it's still a bit hasn't done as much. So we'll see. If it, at the end of the day it looks like something like this, that's a maybe, I would say. That's a maybe. I would say so far you've probably seen like 3 that could be signals today. Micron. Right? There's another one of like, hey, it has this pattern. That's a consolidation, just like it did here. And now we're wondering, is it breaking out of this? And it's just kind of right there. And of course, this is saying, hey, yeah, this is what it tends to look like. And you can see this is the small move of these two. Unless if it's got one more in the tank. It feels like something like that, right? I don't know. Micron. Putting it up 220, low 220 or so. Okay. It's knocking, but right now I would probably say, what are my criteria to put to make it to like the watch list itself? I'm looking for stocks that have high volumes that translate into liquid options. That's a core characteristic. Now, sometimes we let peripherals float in where it's like, okay, they're not hugely liquid, but we recognize the deficiency, and the spreads on their options are still within our parameters, right? Where it's like, for me, 10% of the cost of the option is the most. So $4 option, 40-cent spread. Now that's the most. And you're still going to try to like, hey, can I get it down to 20? If I can do that on both sides, it's manageable. We know what we have to overcome. Other than that, we just, you put yourself in a bad place with illiquid options is essentially the bottom line. So that's a big criteria. Now, then what? Well, we really try to focus on, all of these come from searches. And if you go, we look at volume and open interest, actually mostly open interest. Delta is going to just basically Delta is a option by option measure more than a liquidity measure. So But volume, I mean, we'd like to see volume in the hundreds, open interest in the thousands. That's like what we'd like to see. Obviously, we'd like to see volume in the thousands and open interest in tens of thousands. But there's literally like a dozen stocks that meet that. So, now you're talking about the SPY and Apple and just some of the most widely traded. I haven't done it for a while. I guess I should look. It'd be an interesting thing to post, like what are the top 10 for open interest. Because that makes for easier trading. Number one. Number two, we're taking a sector orientation. So when we run market postures on Sundays and we look at the sectors and we're like, okay, here's who's doing well, and we should have stuff from them. And we're like, hey, technology is a strong one. Oh, great. So what do? We go through technology group by group and find the best 2 or 3, maybe at least 2, the best from each group, put it on a list. That's where the money's going, right? Is we're trying to find who's leading the groups, who's leading the sectors. So that's essentially where we get these from. High liquidity, market leaders, bullish trends, good options. Yeah. Micron, Netflix. And then there's some like Netflix that's it's such an enormous part of the market that I'm always going to watch that, right? So there's some of these that you're like, wait a second, this thing hasn't done anything for a while. It consolidated and it broke and it actually kind of petered out, dropped, and now it's just sort of stuck. It's got earnings, so yeah, we're just going to keep watching it. Nothing there. There's nothing in there where we're like, ooh. If anything, I do think it has a little bit of a bullish momentum. We'll see, but how it goes is carried into earnings. It can respond quite, I wouldn't say violently, but it has a large response to earnings announcements. Northrop Grumman strong, but earnings are coming up next week pretty quickly here. NVIDIA, I think, still has some setup potential here, but not today. Would have to turn the other way. Palantir, Sandy, finally. It's about time, all right. Yeah, Palantir is interesting. It's pulled back. It looks like it's trying to turn off of this. It's sort of it went from a cup and handle to a saucepan. I mean, it's a little longer handle. I mean, it's kind of the same implications. It's still looking to see if it can catch that bounce. The question with cup and handles is, can it break? If it breaks, then we think this is coming. Right? I mean, it's going to not get there immediately, but something like that. From a technical pattern standpoint, just that. Qs today. Yeah, I mean, that looks bullish. It looks like it's turning. That would have me thinking we should be thinking about putting trades on. Oh, look at Roblox. Making a move. Reddit, no. Rocket Lab still pushing highs. David says Roblox has some negative press. Oh, interesting. I mean, it's fighting through it. Earnings are not far. It's pushing previous highs. You can see the last time it got earnings, it had this day where it ventured up to 150. By the end of the day, it was back, and then we haven't even come close to that sense until now. Yeah, but no one likes the negative press. You never know how that might affect it. Silver still making highs. SoFi. Earnings coming up, but definitely pushing with a lot of the other financial stocks in the last couple of days. SPY. Okay, so the market's holding on. So far, half an hour in, looks good. Let's zoom in. Okay, and we have broken the range, the opening range to the upside. For me, what I would expect is, even as this thing pauses and pulls back, looking for more of a trend to the upside, unless it gets all the way to the bottom, and then it's sort of a reset. So yeah, let's see what happens. Looking for a bullish day here, looking for some confirmation, maybe a trade or two coming by way of alerts. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do this. Let's actually narrow this down. I'm going to leave the extra space so we can see the earnings. Tesla's coming up here. Implied volatility is high. It's looking like it could bounce. Earnings are in a week. I mean, we've seen this same story quite a few times. So the question is, are you going to take any trades for some of these that look like they may have a pre-earnings bounce? You're trading into high volatility. You don't want to hold. If you hold through earnings, that volatility that was high is going to drop significantly. We know that. That's a near given. TSM. Earnings are tomorrow before market. We'll see what happens. This is going to have I think TSM is enough of a representation that Micron, Nvidia, things like that. Who else do we have? Palantir would probably be impacted. Anyways, these guys are likely to have ripple effects and have not the same level, but be impacted by positive or negative news from TSM. Citi missed earnings but popped higher. And again, the why is always, and in their case, if they missed earnings, they had a positive but, which I think would mean whatever they see for their guidance was enough to overcome the fact that they missed the earnings expectations, in the same way that oftentimes when companies exceed expectations, their stock drops. And we say, why? And it's like, because they said, we exceeded expectations, but next year we see some headwinds, and everyone's like, oh shit. Right? The second they hear but, they're like, I'm out of here. And in this case, it was like, well, we missed expectations, but we see some real positive signs. This is growing, and everyone's like, oh, well, that sounds great. And so again, it's interesting sometimes. Uber. Okay, so Uber is kind of back right in this range. I mean, it's in a range. I would say, like, if you define the range, you're talking 93 up to about 100. And this is about the middle of it now. it seemed to be an up shifting range, now more of a sideways range. Yeah, I would just be watching. The stochastics is turning. It looks like it's trying to bounce. It looks fine. Earnings are still quite a ways away, early November. Upwork. Is this earnings? Yeah. So these are all kind of the tail end of the earnings window, right? So we know that it's starting now and it goes for about 3 weeks, and this is the tail end of that. Volatility already. So everything has priced in a lot right now. I think this is partially earnings. This is partially just kind of general market fear. We've seen the VIX. We're going to be there in a few symbols. This is elevated. The market makers want more. They're raising premiums. People are willing to pay more because with fear, you're willing to pay more. That's essentially what the Visa was interesting to me. It broke, pulled back, and now seems to be holding. You've got some time. I would actually think this one has continuation possibilities as well. Can we catch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days? We do have 6 days. Do we get this over here? That's essentially what we'd be trading for. Momentum in the group. Yeah, I think this one's looking interesting as well. I think there's definitely good setups. As long as we don't see a hard sell-off in the afternoon, right? This so far, 37 minutes in, looks good. But like I said, this here, if all of a sudden we end up back down into this candle, this disappears. You're like, well, wait a second, what happened to my turned up stochastics? But officer, the light was green. Right? You're like, not it was at that point, but this candle is not this candle until 4 o'clock. And this stochastics is not this stochastics until 4. It's the current representation now, but could be very different. And here's the VIX. So good. It could be better. Honestly, you're like, oh, Scott. What I mean by that is I'd like to see it at least take out this body. It's close, if not this shadow, or at least get close to that where it's like maybe a little bit more would be nice. But I do think that it's trying to make that move where if it's going to make that de-escalation, great. But it is escalated. I mean, even here, we're higher than we had been in a month and a half. Whoops. Whoop. There we go. So yesterday, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. Today, this is exactly what we wanted to see. It's still escalated. But, this might be it. So, yeah, I think today's looking favorable. You guys feel like it looks favorable? Are you thinking, hey, you know what? Let's remind ourselves, we're still in a bullish market, 4.25. Now, we recognize that direction matters. So when we go from a 2 to a 3 to a 4.25, we're like, let's get to trading. When we dropped from 5.25 to 5.5 to 4.25, we're like, ooh, easy there. Keep a look around. What's going on here? But it's still 4.25. Still low enough VIX that we're positive on it. Major market is actually quite strong, and our trends are still very favorable, very bullish. So there's enough here for us to be thinking, hey, yeah, we should still be looking for bullish trades. And we have some. So that's my thought. LJ goes putting up question marks. That's not good. Uncertainty. There is that. We see it. We see it. We feel it. This is different. It's choppier. It's much different than any of what we've been seeing. So it's like, ooh, is there a different level to this market? Clearly, in the last 4 days, we've seen that. But if we're going to come back, same thing happened here, and it was only for 2 or 3 days. And then it spit a great opportunity for a trade here. And so the thought process is, at what point was this going to help you or not hinder you? Yeah, it's pretty close for me to saying, hey, this is what it looks like to come down. And the thought process would be, does it drop down maybe into this 16 level, and then when it comes back up, only come up to like 18 again? And then we're like, yeah, this is a certain trade by the time this next one comes. Right now we're 4.25. If we get all of this, we would probably be back at least to 5.5 and saying this is an even better trade for us to make. So, yeah, I don't know. This looks like Santa Claus is coming soon. Santa rally. October, November, December is a very strong month cyclically for the market. It wants to be bullish. It wants to be. We just want to let it. Walmart, a little extra go. A few people talked about it. Did you guys take it? Anyone who was talking about it? I mean, it caught a bounce here. Never broke, and then it never gave another chance, right? That's the thing about this. On paper, Don, well done. Paper, it's fine. You saw what you saw. LJ Go took it. LJ Go. Take a bow. Well done. Yeah. Did you take it back here when it kind of gave this signal and held through the hiccup? That's a good hiccup hold right there. If so, I would salute that move. Oh, took it live. Even better still. Whoops. Let's look at the sector ETFs real quick. Basic materials. I do want to see a little broader one on these now. Actually, let's step back. There we go. Communication services. Ooh, this is where I'm kind of leaning at, like Google is like, ooh, can Google kind of looks like back here where it was a little sideways, but it's trying to kick into gear. Got a nice move coming out of that. Yeah, energy. I'm not really seeing much of a pop in energy. Financials definitely is trying to right the ship. Industrials is led by Caterpillar, same kind of thing. We're seeing some momentum in there. Technology is holding its trend, trying to catch a turn. But we also see a big surge in. However, let's take this with a grain of salt. And the name of that grain of salt is Walmart, which is a big piece of this. So a lot of that is actually led by Walmart right now. I believe they're at least 10% of the composite of this stock, if I'm not mistaken. But it's still enough to keep an eye, right? We see it in Archer Daniels as well. Utilities, like it just flagged and kept on going. So that trade signaled yesterday on the turn, not today. I mean, today's when it really separated. But if you're trading just those 2-day consolidations, you're trading the flag. You trade the break. So
this is a reminder. Water the bonsai.
Got to remember to water your bonsai trees, everyone. Once a week. Totally made me lose my trade. Oh, it's trading a flag. If you're trading flags, you trade the break of the flag, and you would be in this one. Yeah, it's moving. Utilities are pushing. Healthcare. If you like healthcare, I would say this on XLV. If you think I don't think it's necessarily going to make another one of these, but maybe something like this, right? Where you're like, okay, that was, if I go all the way, let's go body, 129. It's 9.5, almost. We'll call it 10 points. So we'll say 141.5 to 151.5, maybe. And XLY consumer discretionary trying to pick back up. We have an opportunity potentially developing there here on DoorDash if we get a little better signal. Okay, well, yeah, keep your eyes out. I think today looks like it could be a trading day. So, and then tomorrow morning, Glenn will be here. I won't see you guys until tomorrow evening. So it's good to see everyone. Have a great day. Let's keep a real close eye in the afternoon. You know the drill. As always, happy trading.